Hello, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I am your host, Coach TJ. This is my channel, From Darkness to Light, and this is my podcast that I am going to be doing today. And for some reason, I don't know what happened, but my podcast is not working this evening. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk while I go ahead and do it. So I'm just gonna press record and then add it later. So give me 1 second. For some reason, I don't know what's going on. My podcast just does not seem to want to work for some reason. It's not working at all, and I don't even know why. But anyway, I'll continue my podcast, but continue what I'm doing here. I am a certified recovery life coach. It's all about helping people on their paths, their journeys, and their purpose to. Oh, here we go. Hi, y'all. Welcome to my podcast, Finding Your Inner Peace and Tranquility. Y'all know who I am. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you guys for joining me. If you guys want to hear more of my podcast, please go to Spreaker.com/, Finding Your Inner Peace and Tranquility. If you want to see all of my podcasts, you can go to my name and you'll be able to see all of my podcasts. I am a certified recovery life coach. It's all about helping people on their paths, their journeys, and their purpose to a new and better you through self-discovery. Now, I am doing a recording today because some reason when it came to going live, I had a little bit of issues. And right now I'm on my YouTube channel and a couple other channels doing this particular topic, which is about how do you find your inner peace and tranquility through a sabbatical? Second question is, for those of you that are alone and you don't understand why you don't have a man, why you don't have a woman, why is it you don't have friends? Right now, you don't have family support. You have no other support except yourself. There are people out there right now that are homeless, losing their jobs, losing their husbands, losing their wives, people dealing with grief, drugs, alcohol, codependency. You also have people who are people pleasers, seat fillers, Captain Save a Ho, Build a Bears, and Build a Dolls that right now are really, truthfully speaking, going through it right now. Okay? They just are. Now, the reason I wanted to do this particular topic is because I am currently in day one of my sabbatical and I want to talk about, what I did today, what I ate today, and how my first day of my sabbatical was. Now, a sabbatical is, matter of fact, let me pull it up on Google and share my screen, but I'm going to keep talking. But a sabbatical is more or less when you are in a situation where you're going to be going through a rest period. And it's where you're taking time to figure out what it is that you want to do as far as your life is concerned. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to read the definition as far as a spiritual sabbatical when it comes to going through a spiritual Sabbath or a sabbatical. So let me share my screen and we'll look at the definition of the word sabbatical. Now, a sabbatical comes from the Hebrew word Sabbath, which means to close or rest. In the Bible, God commands the model Sabbath rest for his people, and the concept of a sabbatical is based on a biblical practice of Samit mid-Sabbath year. Samit is an agricultural practice that appears in Leviticus 25, which states that every 7 years, Jews in the land of Israel must take a year-long break from work in the field, and during this time, they will leave their fields untented, suspend all agricultural labor, and release bosmans and make debt go free. Now, are we ever gonna have a year off to go on sabbatical? Probably not. It also says to strengthen your relationship with the Lord. The word sabbatical comes from the word Sabbath, which is a day of rest and dedicated to God. Essentially, a sabbatical has several sabbaticals put all together. So, to give you an example of this, would be me going through a financial sabbatical, going through a health and wellness sabbatical, medical sabbatical, going through a building my business and brand, weight loss sabbatical, figuring out what's best for me when it comes to what I eat, what I drink, pretty much what I consume, and being able to learn how to correctly process information the correct way, deciding once that information comes to me, how do I go about processing it? Um, when it comes to thinking first, then being dealing with it emotionally, and then acting and behaving on it. So basically, what I'm trying to learn is how to make better decisions and how to go about doing things differently. Now, when it comes to a sabbatical, when you're dealing with a mental and emotional sabbatical, it means that you're trying to figure out, do I think first and feel later? Or do I feel first, act on it, and then think about it later? So, a good example of this would be when a person does a crime and then they turn around, and after they commit that crime, they now realize they did something wrong, and now they want to try to do something to stop the truth coming out, which is why a lot of people end up unalive, because a person will do something negative but don't want to deal with the consequences and repercussions, and will unalive somebody because they don't want to deal with the consequences and repercussions or the karma of their actions. So I want people to understand that when it comes to a lot of sabbaticals, I need people to understand that it's not easy. Sabbaticals, basically, there's a lot that go into them, but everybody needs some type of sabbatical because, like I said, there are different types of sabbaticals. So the way you go about each sabbatical is one, but in the end, the whole purpose of doing these different sabbaticals is to be a better person. So by dealing with emotional and mental and psychological and internal and external, when it comes to physical health, when it comes to the people you bring into your world, and you constantly going through the same things over and over and over and over again, you're trying to figure out why you didn't weigh the pros and cons of the situation. Why is it that you continue doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and not thinking about the consequences, repercussions, and karma of the situation? This is why that is so very important when it comes to a sabbatical. A sabbatical is all about finding answers, and that means a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of really training yourself. But the reason why most people don't go on sabbaticals by themselves is because they don't know what to do. Now, a sabbatical also can be, like it said, being one with the higher power and building a relationship with the higher power. So that's something that is very important. But there are different types of sabbaticals that we all have to learn from. So when you're going through a spiritual sabbatical, then understand that you drop now. Let me say this before I say that. For those of y'all who get a regular 9 to 5 job, can you still go on sabbatical? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you feel like you need to take a mental break, take a mental break. If you need to take an emotional break and you tell your supervisor, look, I need a mental break, I need some time, I need a break from all. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I'm trying to mute this. So if you're saying, okay, I don't want to, I need an emotional break, I need a spiritual break. Let's say you wake up one morning and you're like, I don't want to work here no more. Or you wake up one morning, you say, I don't want to be married anymore. That's a sabbatical. Because now you woke up one morning and you realize this ain't where I need to be. I need to be somewhere else. Now, 9 times out of 10, this does not mean people that commit infidelity. I'm not talking about the person that committed infidelity, the person that's doing the wrong. I'm talking about the person that did everything that they were supposed to do that was right. And they wake up one morning and realize that they now are of the abuse. They're tired of the pain. They're tired of the emotional and verbal and controlling behavior. And now they want out of the situation. That's a sabbatical. A sabbatical is when you, after everything you've been through, you wake up one morning and you're just like, I've had enough. I don't want to do this no more. So that's pretty much what that means. So I'm going to share my screen because I have something in the oven right quick. And I'm going to let this play. And this is about the 7 things you can do to address a sabbatical. And there's also about an emotional sabbatical as well. But these are just some things that when you're in your sabbatical that you can basically try to find answers to. And once you find these answers, the question is, are you going to be able to deal with what come with the answers that you find? Are you going to be able to accept the things that God is going to show you? Because God is going to show you a lot of things in this sabbatical. And once you start looking at things, you're going to be like, okay, do I really want to do this? Now, mind you, with a sabbatical, you can always say, I don't want to do it. But I think going through the sabbatical, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is very important, because by going through the sabbatical, you're able to learn, grow, and evolve from it. And you're able to be the best version of yourself. So I'm going to play this video right quick. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to come right back because I have to get something out the oven and I don't want it to burn. So give me 1 second. And I'm going to do this right quick. I'm going to take myself out so that way on YouTube y'all can't hear the echo. And I'll be back periodically if I hear something that I want to go more in depth into. So I'll see y'all in a few minutes.
Welcome to this video. I'm Mark DeJesus, and today what I'd like to be able to talk to you about is the 7 things that you can address during a sabbatical season. As of the recording of this video, I'm going to be taking a short sabbatical. Many times people, when they take sabbaticals, it can be for a number of months. I'm going to be taking one till about mid-July, but I wanted to share in this video, and I've shared in another video where I've talked about the power of rest, what it means to live in rest, what it looks like to have rest in your life, not only moments of rest, seasons of rest, but also to live internally with the power of God's rest in your life, which is the greatest privilege that we have. But I feel that God is calling many to certain sabbatical breaks, meaning that it may not look like what I'm doing. It may not look like what others do. You may think, well, I don't have the ability to do that. And I don't know, I would challenge that because I think God may be calling many of you to a break, to a ceasing, it's time to take a pause, to look at some things, to work on some things. And I want to give you 7 things that can be important to those who are saying, you know what, I'm ready to do the dive. I'm ready to allow God to work on some areas of my heart. I want to be healthy for the long haul. I want to be heart healthy, emotionally healthy for the long haul. And if you're that kind of person, there may be some kind of break that God is calling you into. And so I want to talk here about 7 things you can address during a sabbatical season. This isn't everything, but these are some things that can be very, very helpful. Now, if the videos and content that I create are encouraging for your life, for your journey, consider going to markdejesus.com. Go to the donate button. Consider becoming a one-time supporter or a regular supporter. We even have a partnership tribe where you can, through your support, you can also gain access to other materials. and great resources that can be a blessing to your life and to your journey. All right, so let's get into these. What's the first one that's going to need to be addressed in your life? Number one is the pace of your life. And actually, this is the hardest one, because the greatest goal of these kind of sabbatical seasons is slow down. Slow down. I mention this to people when it comes to heart healing and heart transformation in a variety of aspects of ways. The first step you're going to have to, if you want to be heart healthy, if you want to heal from some things in the past, if you want to address things in your life in a meaningful way with God, you're going to have to address your pace of life. And I actually find that this can be the hardest, because we as modern culture, we love the fast pace of life. We're addicted to it. We love performance, achievement, all this stuff that we base our lives around. Now, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. For most people, it is easier. We value hard work, and I think hard work is great. But for most people, it is easier to say, here's a list of 5 things that you need to do today. Now go out and get it. It's actually easier to do that than to go, here's what you need to do today. You need to slow down. You need to get quiet, and you need to start tuning your senses to just listen to what God is saying.
Now, why is that important? Because we've been told our whole entire lives that it's about getting up and going. It's always about do. It's like Monday through Friday will work, or for some people, they may also work on the weekends. But you may have 3 days on, 3 days off, 4 days on, 4 days off. But they're never back to back. They're always going to be on separate days. Okay? So let's say, for example, you might have the weekend off, but you still gotta clean your house. You still gotta take the kids out to dinner and take the kids out for the weekend to give them something to do. So when do you have time to just do things when you want to do them? This society doesn't allow you to do that. It doesn't allow you to do things when you want to do them. It's making you do things when society wants you to do it. It's just like Joe Biden's just stepped down from being, running for president this term. So now we may have Kamala Harris that might be stepping in his place and running against Donald Trump, which is going to be very interesting. But for a lot of people, they already know if Donald Trump gets in office, we are all in trouble. We are all screwed. And the rich are going to be richer, the wealthy is going to be wealthier, and the poor are going to be poorer. It's going to be so much racism and so much not. They already took away affirmative action, and that's not going to be good. And I don't even think Donald Trump half the time even remembers half the things that he says. So I believe he's coming down with Alzheimer's or dementia, because he'll say things and don't even remember what he's saying. So at the end of the day, I don't understand why they want these older gentlemen to run for office when it should be more so younger people. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But like I said, when we wake up in the morning, do you really want to get up 6 o'clock in the morning and go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning? Do you really want to get in your car and go drive all the way to an office and have to sit there and be up under somebody, having somebody watch everything that you do, everything that go on? You have people telling you, oh, you have to have this many things going on, and yet you don't have everything that you need. So this is what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, let me give you an example. Let's say somebody pulls you into a meeting and they say, why is you're not meeting production? Because I don't have everything that I need. So you got to sit there and deal with not having everything you need. And yet you want to go ahead and do production. And yet we don't have everything we need. That makes no sense. So at the end of the day, like I said, you're going to always have people in the end that can always go and have a sabbatical, be gone for months. One thing about CEOs of major Fortune 500 companies, they can always take a sabbatical. They can go anywhere around the world and go on a sabbatical It's just like when it comes to the Muslims, when it comes to having Mecca, when you have was it Mecca, when they have the whole 7 days and everything shuts down and they pray for the whole 7 days. Every other country has a day, has a time where for a whole entire week nobody has to work. We're the only country where in the United States where we don't never get a week or time off to where we're actually enjoying. Then you got people overseas that come over here, and when you work for them, they're telling you, "Oh, by the way, you're gonna have to work the day after Thanksgiving. You got to work the day after New Year's Eve, New Year's Day." So basically, you don't even get the chance to go on vacation, and then it's gonna eventually be to the point where if you say I need to take 7 days off because I'm going on vacation, they're gonna be like, well, no. And then they wonder why a lot of people want to work 10-hour shifts. Do we really have to work 40 hours a week and still get paid our salary? No, we don't. The one thing I've learned is if you look at the way the world was in the beginning of time and you look at the world now, this is all just a bunch of godforsaken nonsense and BS that I'm just not even going to listen to. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue the video, and I'll be back. I just took my stuff out the oven. I'm waiting for it to cool off so I can eat it. I decided to make this raspberry and blueberry muffin thing, but instead of putting little things, I just decided to make a little cake out of it. And it's probably like about a couple pieces, not that many pieces. So let's continue, and I'll be back in a minute. Let me take myself out, and I'll be back in a second.
But get down to nothingness, get down to quiet. That is actually more challenging. The fight to go slow is one of the greatest battles. But during a sabbatical break of any kind, it causes you to slow down. And here's the thing, you slow down by your choice. And God forbid something forces you to slow down. You see, so many times it takes a crash or it takes something happening. And I really believe one of the chronic patterns that's killing us is chronic busyness. And for some of you, taking breaks, it may take you days, weeks, just to get to a place where you can slow down enough to go, okay, I think I can start hearing from God. Many people think their pace of life is pretty decent. Until you actually slow it down, you realize the buzz that's taking place. Slowing down is going to be very, very critical and very important because in that, the next level, as we dive deeper, is facing yourself. Now, when I say facing yourself, I don't mean beating yourself up, condemning yourself, guilt and shame, and just spiraling in self-hatred. I'm talking about facing yourself in the love of grace of God, but being honest with yourself. I find in our constant busyness, we live as a culture where we avoid ourselves. We avoid facing what's really going on. We avoid getting honest with ourselves. We avoid seeing what's going on and happening in our lives and our relationships. We deny stuff. We suppress. We soldier on, and we just don't face things. And that suppressed stuff is hurting us. It's hindering our journey. And so there's an opportunity to face pain, to face most people, when they slow down, they become aware of a deep emptiness that's there for whatever reason that God wants to mature and heal and be present in and be involved in. But our constant go, go, go performance world keeps us from the jewels of what we can experience. But we got to be willing to face ourselves. We got to be honest about pain, honest about emptiness, honest about your motives. Why do you do what you do? Many times we think we know why we do what we do. We attach great motives to everything we do, right? And then when you get quiet and slow down, you realize, you know what? I do a lot to just please people. I do a lot because if I don't have something to do, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do if I don't have something to offer in achievement. I can't belong unless I have something that I can show in my portfolio. I won't be loved unless I achieve and do it right or do it well. Those kind of things begin to come to the surface. The third thing
Okay, before we get to the third thing, I want people to understand that that second one is the absolute most important, and you need to make time to figure out who you are and why you do the things you do. And I'm not talking about based upon everybody else, I'm talking about based upon yourself. So, going on a sabbatical, it means that you have to decide whether you're going to be based upon society standards, meaning what everybody else thinks, your mama, your daddy, your parents, your spouse, your children, your aunts, your uncles and cousins, your friends, your family, your employers, and even strangers, and even the people that are following you on social media. A lot of people are the representation of themselves, but not who they truly are. And when we were kids, our parents told us to suck it up as Gen X, act like it didn't happen, and to get over it. Whereas this newer generation, they're all in their feelings. They're all about expressing themselves as far as what hurts them and what doesn't. Now, when you get about 30 years old, that's when you say, what was I thinking? How did I get here? How did I get into this situation? How did I get into this particular predicament? You got into it because you were not who you wanted to be. You were with who everybody else wanted to be. In other words, being a people pleaser. When you're a seat filler, you're filling a seat until they find something better or find something more, and then they move on to something else. You're a captain save a hoe, meaning you're trying to turn a hoe into a housewife, and you're trying to turn somebody into somebody they're just not, or nor they're ever going to be. A Build-A-Bear and a Build-A-Doll is a person you're trying to build into what you want them to be, but you're building them for somebody else, which all equates to being a people pleaser. So, by finding yourself, you find your talents, you find what you're good at, and you're finally doing the things you want to do based on what you feel works for you. You now have standards that represent the new version of yourself that in no way, shape, form, or fashion are you going to go against, and you're just not. So let's carry on.
I found in sabbatical moments of any kind is it teaches us to get back to the fundamentals. That as we slow down, as we quiet, you reevaluate what's important. You realign your energy. What all God is doing is not complicated. Everything God is doing is back to the fundamentals, back to his love, back to the simplicity of what it means to be loved, to live in his grace, to just have a first love relationship with him and let it flow out in your relationship with others, to live by the fruit of the Spirit. We live in such a machine, complicated, complex world of living. It's time to get back to the fundamentals. Now, you can stay in your busy machine life and keep going and keep going and keep going. God's patient. He's not condemning you, he's not beating you up, but he loves you. And he wants you to experience the simplicity of his love and grace. And quite often in our busy living, we get complicated. Everything gets complicated and overwhelming. It's time to get back to the fundamentals. It's time.
All right, so getting back to the fundamentals, it means that you go back through your childhood, you go back through your life, you go back through the things you've been through, and you'll notice a pattern. You'll notice that you did things not because they were what you wanted to do, you did them because everybody else expected you to, and because people had expectations. So if you got a child that was expected to make straight A's, and they were expected to be perfect, and they were expected to be all of these different things, and then they end up one day saying, I don't want to be these expectations anymore. Or a child is in the industry that tells their parents, I no longer want to be in the industry no more. Or when this child gets older, they find out they have nothing to show for everything they did in the industry. And they decide to basically emancipate themselves from their parents That's what that is. That's also a sabbatical. When you come to the realization that your parents put expectations on you like you were an adult. And the problem is when you become an adult, you're now wanting to still be a child. So you still want somebody to take care of you as if you were a child while they're running around paying the bills and taking care of you. You're running around doing what you want to do. So it just goes from your parents taking care of you to your spouse taking care of you, your friends and family taking care of you. And that's pretty much what it is. But there are some people that basically did not have to live under expectations and they're running around being lazy. Now, I'll give you another example. You may have a young lady that I saw on this one show called Smothering, and her mother was wanted her to be in a pageant. And her mother, like I said, tripped me out. This girl had a chance to get a contract to model, and she turned it down and went right back to pageanting, knowing full well you can't do pageants forever. This girl could have went and modeled, but because her mother couldn't accept the fact that this girl wanted to move to New York and they did this modeling thing, instead of it just being her mother wanted to be involved. So anything that she does that has anything to do in front of the camera, her mother wants to be a part of it. Eventually, that girl is going to have to break her mama because she's going to be losing a lot of opportunities. And then when her pageant life is over with and she tries to go back into modeling, it's going to be too late. You don't never turn down opportunities like that, especially an opportunity of a lifetime. Because pageants, you never know if you're going to win or lose. But I think what the issue wasn't the fact of her getting that modeling contract. It was number one, she couldn't be a part of it. And then number two, the fact that she had to move to New York. So, like I said, the girl was there for a few weeks and ended up going back and went right back to pageant. Like I said, there are some kids that even though they claim they want to be on their own, they don't. And there's too many parents smothering their kids to the point these kids can't even be on their own. And then if God forbid something happened to the mama, what is this young girl gonna do without her mama? That's what I'm talking about. So pretty much that's pretty much what that means. So when it's a sabbatical, it means that you're going back and looking at all the things that everybody and mama that's been in your life has done to you, and you're gonna have to come to terms with it. But don't think that it's your fault because, like I said, you only tried to be a people pleaser and trying to make everybody happy. But the problem is you made yourself miserable because of it. That's it. That's all. But let's continue and I'll come back.
Time to get back to what matters. Time to get back to what's really important. The fourth thing that you can experience during times of sabbatical is to process the previous season, meaning that many of you are in transition. Maybe if you've left a line of work, or you've left an organization, or you had to move on from a church or move on from a community. Maybe you had to move on geographically. Maybe you had to move on from a loss. Maybe you had to leave a marriage that was toxic and you're transitioning out of that. Or maybe you lost a loved one, or you're in a season where there's many who are becoming aware of their stuff that happened years ago. I need to address, I need to face, I need to heal, and I need some help with that. And so during a break season, you may say, you know what, I need some intentional help to work on some areas of my life and process through some things that I thought I was doing great and I was just moving on and soldiering on, but I need some tools, I need some understanding, because I'm recognizing that some of that stuff's affecting me. Number 5.
Let's have this conversation about that one. That is exactly what I said when it come back to going back through your situations and going back from when you were a kid all the way to where you at now. And that sabbatical is going to tell you it go right back to your childhood. It go right back to your parents. Because a lot of parents did not raise their kids. They really didn't. a lot of parents didn't teach their children anything. The school system did. Everybody else except the two people that should have been taking care of you. And then when it comes to the rebelling stage, when you decide to rebel against your parents, that's because you realize that that's the case. So when you sit up here and you give your kids to everybody and their godforsaken mama, guess what? You're going to end up losing control of your kids. And pretty soon your kids going to go against you. So what I want people to understand is I get the fact that for some people, when it comes down to certain situations, that you're going to be dealing with certain, things. But at the end of the day, like I said, it is really sad the fact that when people go back and you look at the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, the point is you didn't do it. It's just like all these people who's sitting in jail right now who get all this time to think because they're sitting in prison the rest of their life are now wishing to God they never met that person they dealt with. They never ever got involved. Now they realize what would have happened how their life would have been so different if they never got involved in that situation. That is what pretty much that means. You're processing why instead of going this way, you decide to go this way. Why, when you were on a path to go this way, you let these other people veer you off your path and now you stuck. That's pretty much what that means. So when you go back and you look at everything, and I do mean everything, you're going to realize you've been dealing with the same type of people, just different versions of them, and they just look different. But it's still the same spirit. So even though you may pray, it doesn't mean that the devil does not hear your prayers, because trust me, it does. He does. So let's continue with number 5.
Is that you get a chance to get to know who you really are. When you take a break from work, when you take a break from, maybe it's ministry work, maybe you're taking a break from actual work, whatever that looks like, it's an opportunity to understand, who am I? It's about identity, because who you are is not based primarily on what you do, even though most of us do that. Your worth, your value is based on what you do and what you present. No, your worth is being a loved son or daughter of God. And this is an opportunity to give back to the fundamentals of, where do I get love? Where do I receive love? Maybe you need to detox performance-based living in your life. Maybe you need to detox from the constant buzz of busyness, where you always have to have something going on to stimulate your mind because silence is deafening. It's time to get back to understanding what it means to be loved as God's child.
Let's have this conversation because this is so very true. If you ask somebody who you are, the first thing you're going to bring up are your accomplishments. The first thing you'll say is you're a mother, you're a daughter, you're a parent, you're this, you're that. That is not who you are. Who you are is your talent. Who you are is the way you think, the way you process information. Who you are is your character, the way you behave, your actions, the decisions and the choices that you make, and how they impact and affect other people. It's also your talent. It's also what you stand for, what you believe in. It's also about the fact of how you go about things. That is who you are. Who you are is every choice, every decision, every action, every behavior that you do. What comes out your mouth is who you are. Who you are is when you say something and you stand on it, that is who you are. Who you are is if you are a liar and you are a deceiver, that is who you are. If you are a manipulator, a bamboozler, leading somebody astray, a con artist, a scam artist, that is who you are. So who you are is not what you do, it's the way you think. That is who you are. And based upon how you think determines your actions and your behavior of what you do. Based upon that. So your critical thinking, common sense, and common judgment, morals, values, principles, ethics, pros and cons, and understanding the consequences and repercussions and karma to your actions and how they impact and affect other people based on your behavior. That is who you are. Who you are is what you decide to do and the way you act on it and your behavior towards it. That is who you are. So when you look back, and let me go back to prison. Let's say somebody was with somebody and they unalived somebody, robbed a bank, or whatever they did that was negative. That person got to realize who they were was a seat filler, who they were was a people pleaser, who they were was somebody that puts everybody else in front of themselves. That is who you are. Who you are is a nice, kind person. You're someone that puts others before yourself. That is who you are. Who you are is mean, selfish, inconsiderate. That's who you are. So I don't know where everybody thinks who you are is how you treat people. No, how you treat people is not who you are. Who you are is your decisions on how you treat people based upon that. So let's continue.
During sabbatical seasons, it's time to let go of unnecessary things. At the beginning of this year, I didn't take a sabbatical break, but I took a pause for a few days. And I said, it's time for me to let go of some unnecessary things. I need to start saying no to some more things. And I intentionally started to align in this year. What are some things I'm just going to say no to? That I'm just not going to spend my energy into. I've wasted a lot of energy into it, investing into it. What's my yes going to be and what's my no going to be? So my yes can be yes and my no can be no, and no more just waffling and just responding to fires and crisis of life, because that's what we often do. We just react to everything rather than intentionally establishing, here's where I'm going to head with my life. Now, Christians, I need to say something very clearly. There's a lot of good things that you may need to let go of. They're just not for your season. They're not for where you're at. They're not for this time. Christians are notorious for it all sounds good, so let's just do it all. And if we look honestly at all our Christian activity of any kind, are there things where it's like, it's great, it's wonderful, but is this really what God is calling me into? And it's caused me to get honest, to get down to the fundamentals, to get down to the simple, basic things. That here's what I sense God is working on in this season. I'm going to let go of everything else. Sabbatical breaks allow that because it allows you to let go of the clutter. And even at the filming of this video, the world has been in a pandemic situation. There's been quarantine pause. There's been a lot of time of going, okay, what are we going to do now? And what's this next season going to look like? And I've mentioned to so many people, it's a great time to let go of things that just don't matter and are just not a priority and are just not the priority that what God has in your life. And many believers aren't even asking the question. They just kind of just keep going in the realm and the hamster wheel of chronic busyness. So this is a good season to let go of unnecessary things in your life.
Okay, let's talk about that. A good example of that is for those of y'all who lost your jobs and y'all are still looking for jobs and can't find a job. And some people have lost their place to stay. Some people ended up homeless. Some people had to go back home to their families. Don't look at that as a bad thing. Look at that as something good in disguise, a blessing in disguise. And let me explain why. You got now time to really sit back and figure out, maybe, just maybe, it is time for me to do the following things. Maybe it's time for me to leave the United States permanently. Maybe it's time for me to start looking for some international jobs where I can work from home and work overseas. Maybe it's time for me to start stacking up my money, and when tax time comes, I get ready to go to Bangkok and live over Bangkok. I'm going to live in Bali. I'm going to live here. I'm going to live there. For those of y'all going through medical issues and you're going through cancer, this is your time to really figure out why you have cancer in the first place. This is where you may have to start looking outside of the United States to get treatment. Does it make sense? So even though, yeah, you might be going through what you're going through, because I promise you, if I lost my job, trust me, I would be going right back home with my family. And I did that. I actually went home with my family and didn't even realize that was actually a sabbatical before I moved where I'm at now. So anytime I feel like that I don't want to be somewhere, I start looking elsewhere because I already know where it's going. And I'm not going to stay long enough to go through it. I'm just not. So there's nothing wrong with a person saying, okay, I deserve better, I deserve more. But take a moment to go through your sabbatical for 2 weeks. Like I said, if you put 100 and some applications in, just stop at that point because you've done everything you can. Now you can start doing content and start making money doing content. Maybe you're meant to be a content creator. Maybe you're meant to do something else. Maybe what you thought you were meant to do, you're not meant to do. Maybe like a lot of people, you might want to start, living in your car, living in RVs, because pretty soon that's getting ready to be the new norm for a lot of people. If Trump gets into office, we're going to be going through a new season. So we need to really work on the past seasons and realize why we don't need Donald Trump and these Republicans in office, because it's just going to get worse. Like I said, I get it. I absolutely get it. But like I said, you have to let go of what was and focus on what is and what will be. Because once you let it go and once you become this new person with these new frame of minds, your whole philosophy is going to change. And that means the people you deal with is going to change. You going to know how to deal with negative people when they say something stupid and dumb. You'll be like, is that all you got? All you going to do is sit here and talk about me when I haven't said 2 words to you. Honey, your whole philosophy when it comes to the people you bring into your life is going to be you're going to be somebody that is not going to make it easy for people to come in your life. You're going to make it almost impossible. Why? Because you worked hard on yourself. And the last thing you want to do is go backwards. And you're not going to let somebody else impact and affect your life because of their stupid, dumb choices. That's pretty much what that means. So let's continue on to the last part of the video.
And I find one of the great fruits that can come out of it is reconnecting back to enjoyment and fulfillment. One of the complaints of many believers is they say, you know what, I just don't want to be fun, I'm not enjoying anything. Now, they may be going through chronic depression, they may be going through burnout, they may be going through some really challenging things that they're facing in their life, but they lost the joy and enjoyment.
This AI tool will take your idea and create a complete
It's time to take a break is when you've lost. One of the complaints of many believers is they say, you know what, I just don't want to be fun, I'm not enjoying anything. Now, they may be going through chronic depression, they may be going through burnout, they may be going through some really challenging things that they're facing in their life, but they lost the joy and enjoyment. And that's one of the signs that it's time to take a break is when you've lost joy and enjoyment in your life and you recognize, you know what, it's not here. I need to recalibrate relationally with God. I need to recalibrate relationally with myself. I need to recalibrate relationally with those that are important relationships around me so that I can recenter and get back to what it means to live in the enjoyment of God and to live in fulfillment, because your life was meant to be a fulfilling rhythm of being loved by God, to love yourself the way that He loves you, to love your neighbor as yourself, and to allow there to be a healthy flow of love through your life. Most believers are trying to love God, but they haven't learned how to really receive His love. And they spend their life loving other people, but they don't know how to love themselves and receive God's love. So they live a cycle of burnout. It's time that you enter into rest. In my own journey, I felt God for at least 3 years was discipling me on the subject of rest. And every time I would pray and seek God, it was, God, what are you putting in my heart and life? And it was rest. I want to teach you what it means. And it wasn't just about taking naps or making sure you get enough sleep. And those are great things. It was about the rhythm of my life. It wasn't just about make sure you take enough breaks or take a day off, because many people take days off, but they don't live in rest. And their days off are not refreshing. It's about learning to live in the atmosphere of rest. And so many of these sabbatical seasons I've taken allow me to learn at a deeper level. God, teach me relationally. I'm going to let go of the yokes of all the things that often pull at our attention. And I'm just going to let you show me who I am and face things in my heart and slow down and get back to the fundamentals and learn what it means to have the simplicity of enjoyment and simplify life again. I pray this is a blessing to your life. If you feel these resources are helpful and beneficial, would you take a moment to share it? Would you also take a moment to consider donating and helping to support? Right now, one of the great materials you can get is the Heart Healing Journey if you want to go deeper and experience some fruitful transformation in your life. If you want to learn how.
So again, when you are going through these journeys, I need people to understand that even on the weekends, you need to have, it's hard to have a sabbatical for one day. So while you're in the storm that you're going through, while you're going through the trauma, that's when you go through the sabbatical. You don't go through the sabbatical when you're happy and there's nothing wrong, because a lot of y'all think, well, if I go on vacation, that's a sabbatical. Guess what? You still got to go back to your problems. Going on vacation is not going to solve your problems. Unless you're going on vacation to solve your problems, that is one thing, but you still got to go back to it. So if you go out of the country for a year and you come back to the United States, those problems still going to be here. And believe me, problems will travel right along with you. They'll come right along with you. And you be like, well, wait a minute. Why is this following me? That's what negativity does. It follows you. And even in the scripture that I basically had today, let me see if I can find it. The scripture that I had today, it was the same thing. Hold on. So let me pull this one up. No, is this the one? Might be the one before that. Hold on. I'm going through my pictures right now. No, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just trying to go down. So I'm going down trying to find the scripture that I'm looking for. But like I said, you're going to have people that are going to sit up here and make your life a living nightmare. That's just the way it's going to go. So when you are going through these journeys and taking the time to go through a sabbatical, I need you to understand that's not an easy thing to do. It really ain't. It's hard because when you have to come to terms with a lot of things that you had to deal with, a lot of things that have happened to you that you have not faced, when everybody told you to suck it up and act like it didn't happen, that's the worst thing that you can do. And trust me, I've been there, I've done that. But it doesn't work to suck things up and act like they don't exist. So I'm gonna share my screen right quick. Let me go back. Oh man, I just did it again, y'all. I'm bad. Bad me. But anyway, I have scriptures that I'm probably gonna post eventually on my channels, but I have posted them on some of them. But like I said, being one with the higher power is an everyday thing. Is it easy? No. Like I said, I was supposed to do my journal today, but I decided to do my journal tomorrow because I won't have really anything to do in the evening. That's why I made my dishes the way I did earlier. So that way I wouldn't have to worry about, making dishes, making something late. I could just sit down and do my journaling. So I'll do my journaling for today and tomorrow. So, because like I said, I still got one more podcast I got to do. So, I'm trying to see which one it is. Okay, set your mind. It says one says set your mind on the things that are above, not on the things that are upon earth. So you gotta basically deal with things that you can deal with, and the things you can't act like it didn't happen. You can't act like it's not there. You can't act like you don't see it. A lot of y'all's like, see no evil, hear no evil. Trust me, you're gonna see and hear evil. That's that ignorance is bliss type of mentality. You're gonna always see negativity. And seeing that his divine power hath granted unto us all the things that pertain unto life and godliness through the knowledge of him that calls by his own glory and victory. And then it says, just let justice roll down as water and righteousness as a mighty stream. And then it says, cast all of your anxiety onto him because he cares for you. So again, is it easy going down these journeys? No. But in this society, in this world, the one thing that you're never going to get is a break. You're never going to be able to just lay in bed all day and do nothing. That's why, when I'm off and when I'm not doing nothing, I clean. So that way I have a day to do absolutely nothing. And it's not about going out to the movies, not about going out to eat. It's just strictly, I am chilling. Even if I'm just working out, it's a day where I do what I want to do. If that means I just want to get in the car and just drive, it's not about going shopping. It's about really being in my peace and tranquility and in my Sabbath mentality. That's exactly what it is. I take a day. Sunday is my Sabbath day. Sabbath is my day that if I want to sleep to 2:00 in the afternoon, I can do that. If I want to get up and just go for a walk, I can do that. If I want to just get up and chill, I can do that. I can do whatever it is I feel the need that I really, truthfully speaking, want to do. Because Saturday is a day I'll go, like when I was staying with my parents, Saturday was a day if I wanted to do something with my son, go grocery shopping, do whatever it is. When I was, off on Fridays and Saturdays, Friday would be the day that I would say, Mom, let's go to the grocery store, get what we need. And Saturday would be the day we take my son to the movies. And Sunday is a Sabbath day. So either Friday or Sunday is going to be my Sabbath day, where I do nothing. I do exactly what it is I want to do. But now social media has now become our whole entire existence. It's like you still don't do what you want to do because all you're doing is sitting around strolling. Like when I did hear about Joe Biden, yeah, I did go and I strolled because I wanted to see what was going on and what people were saying. But then I was like, you know what? I heard everything. I'm good. That's it. But working out should not be something you do because there's a requirement. You're doing it to be healthy because tomorrow that's what I'm doing. Exercising tomorrow. So there's nothing wrong with just doing something, even though it's painful, even though it hurts. But if it's going to make you healthy, why not? So I think I'm going to end it here as far as, this episode. But I hope for all of you out there who hear this later on my podcast, I hope this gives you inspiration. I hope this gives you a lot to think about. I hope for a lot of you, you will take the time to go on these sabbaticals because, like I said, when you're not working is a better way of doing a sabbatical. When you're working, then you're going to have to pretty much, when you're not working, work on yourself. So I'm doing it from both ways. So like I said, by doing this, it's going to help so many people. So with that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate y'all because without y'all, there's no me. I would be absolutely nothing without y'all. But if you think that a sabbatical is easy, trust me, it is not. It is hard, and there is a lot of work that goes within a sabbatical. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about this because this is something that definitely needs to be talked about. But if you want to basically have one-on-one with me If there's something going on in your life that you want me to talk about or you want me to give advice on, please email me on my email address, asha.mariama01@gmail.com. That's asha.mariama01@gmail.com. That is the email that if people from my podcast or even on YouTube or Facebook, y'all have anything that you want to talk about, anything you want answers to when it comes to any of my podcasts, you can basically just go there and send me an email. I respond to it. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, you can do that as well. You want to be a guest on my YouTube channel or Facebook channel or whatever channels I do, then you can hit me up there as well. But I want to thank you guys for joining me for this episode. I'm your host. Y'all know who I am. I appreciate y'all for joining me for this episode. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.